conversation.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to Life Joint Venture. And today, again, as promised, we have Acharya ji with us. And in the previous videos, we discussed that right knowledge leads to happiness and ignorance leads to unhappiness. And we all want happiness, and we all want that we should be able to get right knowledge and apply to our life. But how do we get that right knowledge? So in our Vedic scriptures, there are 8 proofs to get the right knowledge. And today we're going to discuss that with Acharya ji. Acharya ji, namaste. Thank you very much.
Namaste ji. Namaste.
Namaste. So today we're going to discuss the 8 proofs leading to the right knowledge.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
please let us know what are those 8 proofs we
Hmm.
need.
Actually, this is a Nyaya Darshan, basically, epistemology, Vedic epistemology, Vedic Nyaya Shastra. And before we discuss Pramanas, I want to read the first aphorism, the first sutra of Nyaya Darshan, and you know how we come to the Praman. Because end of the day, we need valid knowledge. As you mentioned, valid knowledge leads to happiness. So the whole Nyaya Darshan is all about the validity or the examination of valid knowledge. And Gautam Muni, in this Nyaya Shastra, he writes the first sutra as प्रमाण प्रमेय संशय प्रयोजन दृष्टांत सिद्धांत अवयव तर्क निर्णय वाद जल्प वितंडा हेत्वाभास छल जाति निग्रह स्थानानाम तत्वज्ञानात निश्रेयस अधिगमः. What absolute happiness you want to gain, you you need the knowledge of these 16 things, these 16 instruments of valid knowledge, and only then you will reach to the ultimate happiness, bliss, or liberation. We will try to discuss these 16 things one by one, but as you know, the first is Praman. Gautam Muni says, unless and until you have the right knowledge of Praman, the tool of validity of knowledge, you cannot understand, you cannot get that happiness. And there are so many things in between, like pramay, sanshay, prayojan, etc. They are the hurdles within, or they are the some solutions within. With the knowledge, with the right knowledge, we rightly examine or test the validity of true knowledge. So today, very briefly, we want to lead to that true knowledge, or the test of true knowledge, in the form of pramana. As Gautam Muni says, pramanaira artha parikshanam. If you want to do the pariksha, the examination of the earth, of some object, of some thought, of some statement, then it's only possible with the tool of praman. Praman is the sadhan, is the means of valid knowledge. We can say that. Instrument of valid knowledge, that is praman. And as you asked me, generally in our Vedic philosophy, and all our rishis, altogether, they discuss 8 pramanas. Like if I read their name as it is in, so the first one is Pratyaksha, perception. Second, Anuman, inference. Third, Upaman, comparison. Fourth, Shabd, verbal testimony. Next, Arthapatti, presumption. Sixth, Abhav, non-existence. Seventh, Aitiya, historical. And the eighth one, Sambhav, probability. These are the 8 ways of examining, testing the validity of true knowledge. So we are going to discuss about these 8 pramanas under the heading of praman. Uh, According to the Charvak system, the Charvak um, Rishi Brihaspati, they believe in only one Praman, Pratyaksha. Buddha philosophy believes, not believes, I should say, they use mostly Pratyaksha, perception and inference too. And the Sankhya and Yoga, both, they use three Pramanas: perception, inference, and verbal testimony. And Nyaya and Vaisheshik, these two Tantra, we call them together Tantra, they are Saman Tantra, sort of their subject matter is the same nearly, are very complementary to each other. So Nyaya Vaisheshik used perception, inference, verbal testimony, and comparison. Four. Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa, they both add two more, Arthapatti and Abhav. Arthapatti is presumption and Abhav is non-existence. And some other philosophers of Puranic Shastras, Puranas, they add two more Pramanas. One is Sambhav, probability, uh, and Aitiya, historical. So altogether, we will discuss 8 Pramanas, and in case of Pramanas, more is better. More or less, they help us to examine the validity of true knowledge. Say, with the first perception, the knowledge we get is known as Pratyaksha Gyan or Prama. The knowledge we get by Anuman, the inference Anumiti knowledge. By Upaman, we get Upamiti knowledge. By Arthapatti, we get Arthapatti knowledge. And with non-existence Abhav, we get Abhav Gyan. With Sambhav, we get possibility knowledge, Gyan. Or with Aitiya, we get historical knowledge. And by Apta, we get the verbal testimony or verbal knowledge. So we get some sort of knowledge with, and every Praman helps us to some extent. And there are two types of knowledge. One is direct knowledge, which we get from the Praman Pratyaksha. We call it as direct, first-hand knowledge. And another is Paroksha, indirect, which is beyond our sense organs, which is beyond our reach directly, which is not in touch with, but indirectly we know that knowledge. And the direct knowledge we get from the Pratyaksha Praman, perception, and the Paroksha knowledge. For that Paroksha knowledge, we use all other 7 Pramanas, 7 means of true knowledge, I mean. And we are going to study both those Pramanas, um, uh, like Pramanas for Pratyaksha, direct knowledge, and Pramanas for indirect knowledge, Paroksha knowledge. So we are going to start it one by one, basically.
Acharya ji,
When
just let me quickly
Okay,
just repeat that for our viewers once again. So we have perception, inference, verbal,
comparison,
uh,
Upaman,
verbal
Shabda,
testimony, comparison,
verbal testimony,
uh,
Arthapatti, presumption,
presumption,
Abhav,
non-existence, probability, and historical.
historical knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
every
Thank
knowledge has some sort of authenticity, but they're all not direct knowledge. Uh, but we get that direct knowledge only with the instrument Pratyaksha,
Right.
the Praman Pratyaksha. So, uh, if you come to the word Praman, where we see Praman is प्रमाणेन यद जायते नहीं प्रमाणम क्या है कि जिससे प्रमाणेर अर्थ परीक्षणम when we examine the meaning, the knowledge of the of something. So praman is the tool, instrument is the instrument, and prama is the knowledge we get. And Pramanera Artha Parishanam, Arth is the object, basically. With the help of Praman, with the means of the Praman, we get the knowledge of the object, and that knowledge is known as Prama. Prama is knowledge, and Praman is the means. And Prameya is the object which is worth knowing. Either it's an object or it is some statement or something, some thought or something to know, that is known as Prameya. And with the help of this Praman, we get the Yathartha knowledge, the authentic knowledge. And and because that is worth knowing, that's a Prameya. And the one who knows that, receives that knowledge, is a Pramata, आत्मा, जानने वाला प्रमाता होता है. और इन प्रमाणों से जो हमको सही ज्ञान मिले तो वो प्रमा, और इफ इट इज नॉट द वैलिड नॉलेज, देन दैट इज अप्रमा, अयथार्थ ज्ञान, अपोजिट नॉलेज और इग्नोरेंस. So these are the few words we use in this epistemology. So just I try to explain it for your knowledge, so that it will help to understand a bit more about this shastra. So we come to the first praman now, uh, Pratyaksha praman, quickly, because we have to cover a lot, and I do not want to make it difficult for the ordinary listeners or ordinary students. The definition of the Pratyaksha Praman, perception according to the न्याय Shastra, is इंद्रिय अर्थ सन्निकर्षोत्पन्नम ज्ञानम अव्यपदेशम अव्यभिचारी व्यवसायात्मकम प्रत्यक्षम. And these words are very important and very say purposefully added in this sutra. The first is Indriya Artha Sannikarsh. There are three words. The knowledge we will get as a Pratyaksha Gyan. So the means is Indriya, means our sense organs. When and the Sannikarsh, and another word is Artha. Artha means object. So sense organs and the object, anything, when they come in contact with each other, then we get some knowledge. That is Indriyartha Sannikarshotpannam Janam. That knowledge is attained only when the sense organs are directly in touch with, in contact with the object, Artha. Only then we get that knowledge. We produce some knowledge there, and that is known as Pratyaksha. If there is no Indriya, no knowledge. If there are only Indriya, no object, no knowledge. And when there is no Sannikarsha, no contact uh, of Indriya and Artha, sense organs and the object, then that knowledge is not the Pratyaksha knowledge. Without sense organs, there is no perception at all.
Can
So
you give
that's
an
very,
example? Sorry, Acharya, can you give an example?
say, uh, I show you a pen, and you see it with your eyes, and you say, yes, I saw it myself with my eyes, with my sense organ eye, and therefore what I see, what knowledge I get out of it is my perception, and therefore it is 100% right. And if there is no pen, or you can't see this pen with your eyes, then there is no contact of this pen object, artha, and your sense organ, eye. So I and this object, they must be in contact. They should they must be in touch with each other. In touch with means in contact. Say, then only that knowledge is known as Pratyaksha knowledge. So it's very important. I want to explain a little bit about the first Indriya. As you know, we know Panchamahabhut, Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu, Akash. earth, water, fire, air, and space, Panchamahabhut. So five these physical entities. According to our Nyaya Shastra and our all darshanas, earth is produced, say out our we have got five indriyas: nose, tongue, eyes, skin, and ear. We know that pancha gyanendriya, we call it, five sense organs. So the nasika, the nose, is say like made out of earth, and our tongue jiva is made out of gel, water, up. Our eyes are made out of light, fire, you can say, tej. And our twacha, skin, is made out of the physical element vayu, air. And our shrotra, our ear, is made out of akash. So five sense organs are made out of five respective panchamahabhutas, and each sense organ has its own object, special object. Say, like nose, made out of earth, can get the smell, knowledge of smell, fragrance, I can say. We can smell something with our nose, and that smell is the quality of earth, and therefore nose नोज नॉलेज होता है, उसको स्मेल का नॉलेज होता है. And our tongue, made out of water, gives the knowledge of taste, if it is sweet, salt, whatever. And the reason behind is because tongue is made out of water, and water's object quality is ras, so we know the taste of something with our by our tongue. And our chakshu, eyes, made out of tej, fire, and therefore we can understand, or we can get the visual knowledge of something with our eyes. And our skin, which is made out of air, our tactual organ, help us to get the knowledge of touch, sparsh. And the last ear, which is made out of the fifth element, akash, auditory organ, with which we get the knowledge of sound. So nose, tongue, eyes, skin, and ear, with these five different organs, we get the knowledge of five different things, like knowledge of smell, taste, light, touch, and sound. So this sutra says Indriya Artha Sannikarsh, means when your nasika, your nose, come in contact with something, earthen thing, then you get the smell out of it, and you know this is a good smell, bad smell. So that is the knowledge, that is the prama we get out of it. And when your tongue come in touch with, say, gulab jamun, laddu, apple, whatever, or salt or pepper, then you know, oh, it is hot, it is bitter, it is good, bad, whatever. You taste it with your tongue. That is the knowledge, and that knowledge is the Pratyaksha knowledge, is the perception knowledge of taste, perception knowledge of smell. Similarly, with our eyes, we get the perception knowledge of light or some form, and with our tactual twacha, skin, we get the touch knowledge, sparsh gyan, and with ear, shrotra, we get the sound knowledge. So these are the five artha, and these are the five indriyas. When the respective sense organs come in touch with the respective artha, vastu, then you get the respective knowledge. And each and every sense organ has got that particular ability to get that only knowledge, not every knowledge. Like nose, with nose you only knows the smell, with tongue you knows only taste, With chakshu, with eye, you know, we only know light or a form, and with skin, you only know touch. With ears, you only know the sound knowledge. One sense organ and one earth. They cannot do double job. Double job. So this is a very systematic study of our body and their function and the knowledge we get out of them. So this sutra of this protection, this perception says unless and until all these indriyas, sense organs, come in contact with their respective objects, artha, you cannot get that direct knowledge, that perception, and therefore indriyartha sannikarsha is must. It must be produced out of the sannikarsh, and that knowledge is known as perception. And this perception is the special knowledge, the first knowledge which is very individual, because you cannot transfer that knowledge to someone. The beauty of perception is you cannot transfer that knowledge to anyone. Say, what smell you know, what smell knowledge you get, you cannot transfer it to someone. What taste you enjoy, you cannot tell it to anyone. What light white, what form you see with your eyes, you cannot transfer that knowledge to someone. What sparsh, that touch you feel, you cannot transfer it to someone. And what sound you hear, you cannot transfer it to someone. This protection perceptive knowledge is not transferable at all.
because it's direct to
It is
your.
direct. And unless and until your sense organs come in touch with a particular object, you yourself cannot get that knowledge, and you only yourself get it because that your sense organs in touch with something. Because everybody's organs, though they are similar but very different, and perception cannot be the same. Perception is not transferable. It's not the verbal knowledge, it's a direct knowledge, and knowledge cannot be better than this perceptive knowledge. And
Now,
therefore, the definition of knowledge according to the Veda, according to the Darshana, according to our Vedas, is Anubhav Janyam Janam. Your experience, you have seen that, you have heard it, you have tasted it, you have touched it yourself with your own sense organs. I have no better proof, I have no better means to get the knowledge of something or some thought. And therefore, this knowledge is a direct knowledge, and it's very important. Uh,
Acharya, just one
yeah.
thing here. Now, I
Mm,
know Charvak philosophy, or the philosophy who negate Vedas, they only believe in Pratyaksha, or perception.
mm,
But the thing is, one more thing with perception is that, for example, you're in a desert, your eyes can see there's a mirage,
mm,
right?
mm,
But the mirage doesn't exist.
mm.
So it's not 100. I mean, we cannot say it's 100%.
Yes. When I last rightly asked Deepak, uh, I will tell you, though we say I have directly, no, I have seen something with my eyes, but eyes may have some disease, eyes may have some fault, or subject is not clear to see. So there are lots of other obstacles in between, problems within our sense organs, and the clarity of the problems in getting in touch with the objects as well. Therefore, even though it's a direct knowledge, but sometimes there may be a false knowledge. There are some hidden some problems. So we have to understand and accept that. Therefore, we see the same thing again and again, again and again, and everybody sees the same thing in the same way. Then we come to the conclusion: my organs are right, and the object is right, and my contact of my sense organs with that object is right, and therefore this knowledge I get is right. So we have to re-examine it again and again. Only then we will come to the ultimate truth. So we never ever say this is just right and nothing else. We say always again try once more, check it once more, examine it once more, take the second opinion, third opinion, and we just continue our examining the knowledge always, and we make it sure what we know is exactly right, because if it is not right, we cannot lead to, we cannot attain the moksha, the liberation, the happiness. So therefore we don't want to take any chance of any mistake. So we are always open to examination of knowledge, and this is something about the indriya artha sannikarsh. And here we count only five sense organs. But there are some internal organs like man, ahankar, buddhi, and those internal organs we don't count them here. We are just trying to get the knowledge out of these five sense organs, and therefore we get the external knowledge with these external sense organs. But man and buddhi, ahankar, we together call them as man say. So without this man, buddhi, ahankar, that knowledge cannot reach to the pramata atma. But it is understood, because that internal organs we take them as a fact, because with every organ the same story, every knowledge got from the every organ goes through mind to ahankar, to buddhi, to soul. Each organ get a different special knowledge and offer it to the mind, and mind pass it on to ahankar, buddhi, and then atma. But mind, the beauty of mind is yugapata jnananupattir manasolingam. Five organs are open always, five objects are open always, and they even may be in touch with, in contact with, in sannikarsh. But even then, the beauty of mind is mind take one knowledge at a time. Yugapat jnananu manso utpattir manso lingam. Knowledge take one knowledge at a time, one information at a time, and take information so quickly as we feel that we are knowing all things at a time. We are seeing, we are smelling, we are listening, etc. at a time. But basically, it's not at a time, but it is because the speed and quality of the mind takes only one knowledge at a time and pass this knowledge to atma, pramatma, one after the other, and so quickly that atma can make the sense out of it. So mind is very important in between, and especially say, uh, with external sense organs we get the external perception, but sometimes when our eyes are not in touch with anything, and we are just within ourselves with mind, ahankar, buddhi, and atma, then we get the internal knowledge. We call it as alaukik knowledge. Alaukik knowledge. And the knowledge with the help of sense organs is known as alaukik knowledge. Physical, external knowledge. And when these sense organs are not in touch with the external art, and when we get the knowledge of mind, buddhi, ahankara, and atma themselves within, then that knowledge is known as extraordinary knowledge, alaukik knowledge, internal knowledge. But there is no contact of sense organs, no relation of sense organs there. So this is another alokik perception. It is also counted, and especially the yogis in the when they do meditation, then this man, buddhi, ahankar, and atma, they just play within, work within, and gets a lot of knowledge. We call it atindriya knowledge beyond our sense organs. So that is also a perceptive knowledge, and it has also equal validity and equal authenticity, especially when we think about the saints and seers and yogis. Those yogis, without percepting directly anything that time, and then they simply close their eyes and after deep thinking within, they give us some good knowledge, good decisions, some good perceptive knowledge, and that knowledge is also very authentic. We call it as yoga's knowledge, basically knowledge of the yogis. So that is also very, very, very authentic. It is said, Satam hi sandeh padeshu vastushu pramanam antakarana pravartaya. When there is no any chance of perceptive knowledge, and we have to know something which is invisible and which is extraordinary, something which is beyond our reach, then the yogis close their eyes, go within, and meditate upon that subject, and they come to the conclusion, and they follow what their inner sound says them, what is the inner sound, and that sound is also authentic many, many a times. And we call them as yogis, and that knowledge is yogi knowledge, or yoga's knowledge. So
There,
these are two
yes.
types of Prataksha perceptive knowledges, we can say that. At the same time, when we come to the types of perceptive knowledge, one is like, you know uh, like what I have told you, yoga's knowledge, and one is samanya lakshan knowledge. Samanya means there are no sense organs, but just on the basis of one's knowledge within, we know some things even without the organs. Uh, in general, we can say, in general, based upon general experience, we call it as samanya perceptive knowledge. And another is Jnana Lakshan. Jnana Lakshan means he has some knowledge previously, he has previous knowledge, and on that basis he can conclude something rightly, exactly. So we call it Jnana Lakshan, based upon pure knowledge, and the third one is yoga's knowledge. So Samanya perception, commonly known as Samanya Lakshan, another is Jnana Lakshan, and third is the Yoga's Lakshan, perceptive knowledge. So these are the three types of perceptive knowledges as well. And this is something about Indriya Artha Sannikarsham. Indriya Artha Sannikarsha Utpannam Jnanam Pratyaksham. So this is just the shortest definition of this Pratyaksha Praman. But as you know our style, we examine very strictly, very harshly, and make it sure this is right, and also we prove this is not wrong. We make it sure if there is any possibility of any mistake, we make it sure this definition, this sutra is just perfect, and which covers every aspect of that situation, and make sure that knowledge you get from the perception is nothing but right. And therefore there are three adjectives in this sutra. First is avabhichari, that knowledge you get must not be corrupt. Check it again and again and again. Say, we don't want the false knowledge, imaginary knowledge, doubtful knowledge. We need very sure, make it very sure. I don't want any chance of any mistake. And we call it as avabhichari, uncorrupt knowledge. Uncorrupt knowledge. Say, like in our Darshan Shastra, people say there was some darkness, not that visible, and you saw something, and you thought, oh my God, this is a rope, this is a rope, and you thought, oh, rope is lying here. Let me take it, and the minute you pick it up, it is not a rope, but it's just a snake. Can you believe that? You thought with your eyes directly coming in contact with that object, it looked like a rusty rope, but when you picked it up, you found it's not a rope, but it's a snake, basically. So we don't want that sort of fallacy, that sort of uncertain knowledge whereby you take snake as a rassi or rassi as a snake. No, we don't want opposite knowledge, but we exactly make it sure that it is just a snake and not a rope. Make it sure. If you can't see properly, see it properly. Take your time. Use torch, something like. If you can't hear something properly and you don't know what he's saying, say, no, sorry, I can't hear you properly. Once again, please. Once again, please. So all the way, always make sure up to the end, and get the right knowledge, not the wrong knowledge. As you said, mirage is not water real basically, but it looks like water. But you should know it's a midday, it's a hot day, so make sure whether it is a mirage or a real water. And it is said, we say sometimes that the deers when they are thirsty and they see this mirage, they think, oh my god, there's a lot of water flowing, and they just run and run and try to reach that water flow. And when they go there, what all they say is, oh, it's not a water, but it is just a mirage. It's a false knowledge. Mirage is the right example of false knowledge, but we should know exactly this is a mirage and not the right water. So this is a vyabhichari knowledge. It's not a water, but it's a mirage. It's a vyabhichari knowledge. There is no vyabhichar, no corruption, but it is simply the mirage, not true water. The another adjective is अव्यपदेश. अव्यपदेश का अर्थ होता है, व्यपदेश का मीन्स होता है verbal knowledge. Just you said me, do you know water? Yes, I know water. But which water, what water, where is water? I don't know. But do you know water? Yes, I know water. Water means water. I know the word water and I know the object water. But basically, if you ask me, is it sweet? Because there is no water, only word. I know it by word, but I don't know really what water is it, what the taste, how hot it is. I don't know. If you ask me, do you know cow? Yes, I know cow. But if you ask me, where is that cow? There is no cow. It is just verbal knowledge, just wordly knowledge. Say, like, do you know the taste of gulab jamun? I say, yes, I know. But do you know how sweet is it? Because there is no gulab jamun, but still I say I know knowledge. I have got perceptive knowledge that I have seen, but is there in your mouth now? No. So I don't want verbal knowledge. Show me that gulab jamun, show me rasgulla, put it in your mouth and taste it and let me know how sweet is it, how nice is it. Then you can, that knowledge is perceptive for you. You know directly because that gulab jamun is directly in touch with your tongue, and you know that rightly how sweet it is and how it is. But and you telling me, oh, it's a sweet one. But do I know that how sweet is it? What sort of sweet is it? For me, that is not a perceptive knowledge, but for you, only then when you put that gulab jamun rasgulla on your tongue directly, eat it, and that knowledge you get is basically a vapadesh. It's not verbal knowledge, but it's a real knowledge. And that real knowledge, when it comes in touch with the organs, only then we call this is a vapadesh. Real knowledge, not only verbal knowledge. Verbal knowledge is not the perceptive knowledge. That is not the direct knowledge. That is just a heard knowledge based upon the previous perceptions, but that is not the real knowledge. And the third adjective is, it is vyavasayatmakam, it is nishchayatmakam. There is no doubt whatsoever, confirmed and reconfirmed knowledge. As they say, like I can say, um, you see two people, just for knowledge, and say two people, one's name is Devadatta, another's name is Yajadatta. And they look bit similar. After some time, you see Devadatta and you think, oh, he's Yajadatta. But you forget that they look similar, and but this is not Devadatta, but this is the Yajadatta. So there is no any confusion. Devadatta is Devadatta, Yajadatta is Yajadatta, and you should rightly differentiate them and make sure who is Devadatta and who is Yajadatta. So making something sure, which is made sure again and again, that sort of sure knowledge is Vyavasayatmakam knowledge. So this is how this sutra make it sure that all the way that knowledge is direct and there is no any doubt. It's not a verbal knowledge, it's not the opposite knowledge, but we get it as a result of, as a consequence of the direct contact of a sense organs with the object properly, and that is how we get that knowledge. And this knowledge is the perceptive knowledge, Pratyaksha Gyan. And this Gyan is very individual, very personal. You cannot transfer it at all, at all, at all. So that anubhav, that experience is therefore very personal. Many a times what happens, say like our parents, our teachers, they are older than us, they have more experience, and they try to teach us something, they tell us something, they make it cautious in our life because they don't want we to make the same mistake what they have done in their life in the past. But we, because for us, that is not our direct knowledge, our perceptive knowledge, and we cannot realize that they are right. And sometimes, or rather many times, we take them as a wrong. You are wrong. I don't believe. They don't. I don't agree with you because we have no perceptive knowledge, and I agree with the fact that that is not their perceptive knowledge. They will learn only when they go through the situation, and they will agree it, and they will say, "Yes, Dad, you are right that time. Yes, Mom. Yes, teacher, you are right." Because but that time I had no experience, and therefore I didn't believe you. I blamed you rather. So you get experience slowly, and everybody's experience is different and different sometimes. So we have to sometimes try to know the difference between and take some time to percept it properly as personally. Till then you say, so far I have no experience like that, but in the future I will try to experience it, and then I will let you know. Then I will let you know. But in hurry, don't say yes quickly. And many times, especially um, regarding the objects which are beyond our sense organs, or say some alaukic organs, or the experience after death or before birth, etc., etc. You cannot reach that, and you cannot get those experiences, and people mislead you. After death this will happen, before birth it was like that, and this, and so people give us many times mysterious knowledge, and that mysterious knowledge is not worth believing, not perceptive knowledge. So please take your time and see what is right and what is wrong. So this is something in short, the Prataksha Praman, and this is the first knowledge, and it's very, very important way of getting the valid knowledge, the most valid knowledge what one can get. And I think for today, this perception Praman is enough to discuss.
Yes, Acharya, very nice. And I think when you were saying about beyond senses, now there are a lot of documented uh, testimonies of near-death experiences. Now in America, they're doing a lot of research
Mm,
that is called an NDE or near-death experience. So when a person actually dies, but he's not actually, he hasn't died, and
mm,
then he's revived. He's actually technically he's dead.
mm,
Sorry, that's what I meant. Technically, he's
mm,
dead. He's
mm,
and then he revived, and then
mm,
he shares the experiences, of his, his. He shares his experience with everybody else and tells
mm,
this
mm,
happened, this happened, this happened. So,
mm.
would you say that's more like a verbal testimony, or that's part of the perception, direct perception, indirect perception? How would you rate that? That
Today, all I say, that is not the perceptive knowledge. That is not my direct knowledge, but somebody, I got that information from someone. So this is an informative knowledge and secondary knowledge, paroksha knowledge for me. So we should get that paroksha knowledge, and paroksha knowledge is also can be right. But for me, I have to see it myself. I have to verify it myself, because that is not my perceptive knowledge. That is not my direct knowledge. So take the information, maybe right, maybe wrong, but we will discuss that paroksha knowledge later on.
Yes, very, very interesting as we
In Anuman and all other Pramanas are therefore very useful in such situations.
And Acharya, is there any information I can put in my description box if somebody wants to read it? Is there a link, you can give me or something?
Yeah,
Uh,
link is just a dull epistemology of India or Vedic philosophy, or
okay,
say
okay,
Nyaya Darshan or
sure.
Praman Shastra. So you will get something there.
Thank you. Great.
Hmm.
Okay, no, very interesting. The other thing just one more I was going to say to you, like obviously the senses are not 100% because
Yeah.
sometimes, like I remember when I was in school, teacher was teaching and there was sound, but my mind was not registering, right? So there are so many different sort of things because our senses are not 100%,
Hmm.
but we do consider that perception is a valid
Hmm. Yeah.
it's a valid proof of
Hmm.
going to the right knowledge if done correctly.
Hmm.
So as you said,
And you rightly said, even if our sense organs are all right, but because your sense organ was not connected with the mind,
yes, that's
and
important.
when there is no mind, that time you cannot get that knowledge, and that knowledge will not go up to the Pramata Atma.
Yes,
So every time you should be connected with the mind and the sense organ and the object, then only you get that knowledge. I means that Pramata will get that knowledge.
yes,
So mind is also very important.
very
मेरा
important.
मन
Yeah,
नहीं था,
that's
मेरा
the reason
ध्यान
I
नहीं था,
mentioned it.
हाँ,
Yes, yes, and
ध्यान
that's the
नहीं
reason.
था.
Yes, and one more thing, Acharya, like for example, the internal. You said about the internal experiences, the internal senses.
Hmm.
Now, for that, I think you mentioned, I think in your last video, that there is a qualification in the
Hmm.
sense that you said something about to receive that knowledge,
Hmm.
especially transcendental knowledge. You
Hmm.
have to be pure.
Yeah.
Your heart has to be pure so that you can actually receive that internal experience, that internal
Yes.
that
Yeah.
I mean that could be a qualification, I suppose,
That
to
is one of the things. One is, on the basis of intellect and other things. But sometimes, yes, pure heart. I mean, the honesty of examination and honest willingness of getting that knowledge matters. So there are some places where our pure heart or cleanliness of mind and honesty in our intention also matters. So we will discuss that in some other Pramanas like Apt Praman, verbal testimony, etc. It will come up, but we are trying to cover every aspect of that valid knowledge and the test of valid knowledge. So lots of things will come up, and there is a big Shastra, Nyaya Shastra, which is going to unfold such many, many, many cases. And that's the reason why Darshan Shastra is the great in the world and the biggest contribution to the world.
yes, and we've gone over 40 minutes already, so thank you very much, Acharya ji, and we will continue this in our next session. So viewers, if you're interested, please come back, and we'll be uploading more and more videos, and Acharya ji will be sharing more of his wisdom and knowledge with us. So thank you, Acharya ji. Thank you for today.
My pleasure. Namaste. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyawad.